Alrighty Fallout fans, episode 5, done and dusted. Now it wasn't the action-packed wasteland adventure that obviously we all thought we were going to get in this one, but what it did give us was a lot of insight to what happened before the bombs dropped, with a couple little wild adventures thrown in there along the way just to, keep us interested. Now I'd like to get stuck into what I thought about this one, maybe a couple of Easter eggs, and how this episode actually gave us a lot more backstory than I feel any of the other ones. Now let's get stuck into it. Now straight off the bat, we are left off exactly where we left Lucy and the Ghoul, facing off against one Deathclaw. But a little surprise was around the corner, because next thing you know, another 2 Deathclaws popped up, which numbers to 3, which, yeah, there possibly could have been 4, as they're running out, but the way I look at it, there's 3 Deathclaws there, possibly a 4th. I don't think you're really going to stick around much, just, to ask them a couple of questions. But the one question I'm curious about is how they got there and where did they come from. Now the where they come from, we did get a little bit of an answer for that one, because a good old bartender from the Atomic Wrangler, once we get in there, he let slip that the Deathclaws actually came up from Quarry Junction. Now if anyone's played Fallout New Vegas, you knew that Quarry Junction was a place to stay away from, because it was pretty much like a Deathclaw den, and unless you were a very high level and had some good weapons, you weren't going to go in there and try and take on 6 or 7 Deathclaws by yourself. Now, the one question I'm curious about is, who pushed them out of Quarry Junction, and then why did they come to the strip to take it over? That would be real, hopefully we find that out. Maybe that has something to do with Mr. House, or someone that didn't approve. Obviously, maybe his Securitytron droids were taken over the strip, and someone wasn't happy about that, so they decided to use the Deathclaws. And then the bartender as well, gotta love bartenders, they're sometimes full of good information. Gives us another little hint into what happened to the strip as well, where he was telling the Ghoul that, doesn't care who runs the strip as long as, they leave him alone. And there's been NCR Legion, possibly NCR again, and then robots. And to me, that would be where Mr. House takes over, and he even talks about it in this episode a little bit of turning organics into robots. But I feel maybe his Protectrons or his Securitytron droids actually eventuated and took over the strip, and maybe whoever he's trying to chase in this episode about the Deathclaws might have came back and sent the Deathclaws there. Now the Ghoul really opens up in this episode, and I feel it's because he finally feels that he might be getting close to his family. Now, he opened up a little bit to Lucy about some of the other management vaults that he's actually stumbled across, and that's really cool. He's actually gone out of his way for a lot of years to try and find his family, and apparently he's found one in California, Oregon.
Oh no, I found one. California. It was empty. Found another one in Oregon. It was empty too.
A couple other places he didn't mention, but the one place he could never find one was New Vegas. So that's why I feel at the start, in the first season, he probably let Lucy's dad go hang, just so he might, lock it down a little bit more than probably what he saw, because he's probably been here, checked, couldn't find anything, and if he's been to other ones and they're all empty, of course, you just need to weasel out that last one to, full find out whether or not his family's alive or not. And then the big kicker is they are actually alive. They're in the vault where Hank's at, and Hank has come back with full force. Now, we didn't see much of old Hank in the last episode, but he definitely pops back in this one, full force, not holding back, and all guns blazing. Now, first off, we get to see he possibly kidnaps an old favorite, the snake oil salesman, uses him to get his mind control working, and funny enough, it actually does work on the snake oil salesman. Now, I'm curious just to wonder if it seems like every other person that he's tested on, it's, hasn't worked properly because they haven't been willing, where it seemed like the snake oil person in this one was actually willing to, be a participant once he found out that he'd lose all his memories and wouldn't remember anything.
Every choice you've made, every moment you've cherished, will be completely and utterly removed from your memory.
Please, yes.
But then, of course, he's got to test out his mind control and see what's cracking. So further on in the episode, you actually see Snake Oil Salesman pop up in an apartment with the Ghoul and Lucy, and pretty much Hank lays out a deal for the Ghoul, and using, now we know a little bit, his actual family who's still in cryo as leverage, and saying pretty much, if you don't take Lucy back to the vault and, make sure she's all safe, I'm going to kill your family. So he's like, how about we do a deal? Family for family. You look after my family, I'll keep your family in cryo. everything sweet, Mr. Ghoul. And of course, Mr. Ghoul, being who he is, finally getting close to his family, but then again, finally getting a little bit in touch with Lucy, succumbs to his obvious badness because he wants his family more, takes Lucy out, well, doesn't really take her out, you know, just gives her a bit of trank, she goes down, old snake oil salesman, he's happy, he leaves, he knows that, you know, mission accomplished, but not all. This is where, you know, the big betrayal, I think, happened on Lucy's end. That's the way she's seen it, because she just becomes friends with the Ghoul, and yeah, nah. So even though Lucy's a bit tranked up, she's crawling along the ground, happens to stumble across a weapon that she acquired earlier that we'll have a chat about later on in the video, which is a power fist, puts the power fist on, and then proceeds to punch the Ghoul with the power fist out the window. And this is where it's like the big killer for me. Like, I know ghouls can sustain a lot of damage, but he goes out the window and lands on an old rusty, I'm guessing, sort of lamp pole, possibly electricity pole, who knows, but it goes straight through his back and through his stomach, and he pretty much rides that whole thing down, just impaling him most of the way. And then, you know, Lucy pops her head out the window, says, thought we were friends, and that's the last we get to see of those two for that episode. And wow, that was really crazy for me. It's like they can't really kill off the Ghoul, who's one of their coolest characters, but obviously there has to be a limitation to what sort of damage that a Ghoul can sustain before they actually die. But it'd be pretty interesting to see how he gets off this one, because, you know, he's sort of impaled on a pole, so he might actually have to climb his way back up the pole to get off that one. But I was a bit shocked at that one. Definitely, it was a nice little cliffhanger that left us on with the Lucy and Ghoul story, that's for sure. Now let's jump off the main quest line for a bit and do a little bit of a side quest, which is sort of what I like, and I love the little details that they whack into these episodes. Now, Freeside. We're finally near Freeside. It looks way different to what the game's in. You know, a lot cleaner, a lot more compact. There are some pretty notable still, you know, places that we can remember, like the Atomic Wrangler, Smitty's, Ralph's. But yeah, it just seems to me like, yeah, that's probably the one thing at the moment that has arced me a little bit, is just, yeah, how small Freeside is compared to the actual game, when it pretty much covered the entirety of most of the outside of the strip, as well as the other one that I almost forgot was the School of Impersonations in there as well. Now, that was where the Kings originated from, the gang, but we've seen Lucy take out most of them in that episode 4 anyway, so I'm not too sure there's going to be many Kings left, but I wonder who's taken over that now. Now, as well as in Freeside, that's where we actually get to see Lucy. I feel, you know, she's really evolving into a different kind of person, especially from the Vault-Tec where she, you know, originally came from. She goes into a place called Sunny Sundries, which is where the Ghoul sends her to get some Addictol, which is a thing in Fallout, which is a drug in Fallout that helps you get over addiction. Now, she doesn't have enough caps for this, and she sees that at the door, so she's going to use a little bit of her sneak skill. She goes in the back door, acquires her Addictol that she needs, and then on the way out, that's where you see where she grabs her new weapon that she wants, the Power Fist, which can't say I wouldn't myself if I was in the game. If I just seen it laying there, I'd probably grab it anyway. Who cares a little bit about the bad karma that happens. But then on her way out, you know, she gets busted by a fella that's running the store who's not really Sunny, may have killed him, put him in a bin, and stuff happens and she ends up popping the fella. It was in self-defense, but in that stage there, that's where you see Lucy actually, I think, come to terms with she doesn't even know who she is anymore, because a customer walks in, sees sort of what's happened, asks who she is. Lucy doesn't even know anymore. That's what she says. She's, I don't even know. And next thing you know, she leaves the store. Now, that's pretty intense for old Lucy. You know, she evolved a lot from coming from not trying to kill anyone or hurt anyone up to, yeah, it was self-defense, and she actually tried to maim him, but she missed and may accidentally killed him. And I don't know if she feels a little bit guilty about that. I think she might. And I tell you what, didn't we finally get some answers? And, you know, good little time with Mr. House, I think, in this episode, thanks to the flashbacks from Cooper Howard. Now, one of the biggest cool things I think that we get to find about this one is why the actual second Mr. House is there, the one that we see on the TVs or making all the meetings and, you know, appearances and stuff like that. And realistically, it's just the usual thing. The big Mr. Rich House, you know, wants to stay secretive and doesn't want people to actually see who the real Mr. House is. So he uses this fella instead, who's his employee. And it seems like he's been doing it for 10 years, so it's working quite well for him. But it's really cool in this episode to see how Cooper Howard and Mr. House actually interact. Because obviously Mr. House, the secretive one, is always used to winning. The house always wins, and he's finally found someone who, sort of works against the program and doesn't care if the house wins or not. And, that being Cooper Howard in his flashback. Now, they have a lot of heated, words in this one, but ultimately it comes down to me saying that Mr. House is obviously just worried about his own survival, the missile system being set up for New Vegas, and just, ultimately living forever, which, if you've played the games, you know that he actually does. And, it's just really curious how he goes about it. He's really worried, you see in this episode, about who's actually going to drop the bombs, and I thought in my eyes it was actually going to be him, but now it seems to me like he's trying to push it's going to be Cooper Howard's character that actually pushed the bombs, or maybe even his wife that's pushed the buttons for the bombs. Who knows? But
I think you're a killer! I think I know exactly who you are!
It's just really cool to see how the actor that actually plays Mr. House, he really I seem like he fits this role really well, playing the little, twitchy mathematician genius. He's got his little tics and stuff like that, and it's just really interesting to see how they're portraying Mr. House in this show, and it's awesome to see, and I can't wait to see more and what's happening in the rest of this season. Now, a quick little Easter egg in this one that I feel that the creators have dropped in, I think we actually stumbled across thanks to the snake oil salesman, is a robot called F.I.S.T.O. Now, F.I.S.T.O stands for Fully Integrated Security Technotronic Officer, right? Now, in the Fallout New Vegas game, this robot could actually be repurposed to be a prostitute, pretty much. And it seems to be that, the snake oil salesman that, leads us towards F.I.S.T.O has, he's a bit perverted, because in the first season he was done for doing something nasty to chickens. He was run away from other villages and such, and now he finds himself with F.I.S.T.O. Well, the way I look at it is he had a fusion core that was, traded to him by Thaddeus. And he's taken this sort of fusion core, taken it back to F.I.S.T.O, put it in F.I.S.T.O, and possibly made F.I.S.T.O into a prostitute bot for himself. Because, when Hank pops up in the scene, he's like, why don't you go over in the bushes and be like any other pervert,
Oh, a looky-loo, eh? Go watch from behind a shrub or something like a civilized pervert.
It's just crazy to see, but hopefully I am right, and that is F.I.S.T.O. That's a little Easter egg they threw in there, and if they did, I love it how the creators of this show are really in touch with the games. See, and I have a soft spot for old Norm, because even though he was a little bit soft at the start, he's trying to overcome that and become a better man, and he's out in the wasteland now. But poor thing for old Norm is I feel in this episode he finally got busted, and it sucks for him. But looks like in the episode, Norm and the Vault 31 people finally get to the Vault-Tec headquarters in California. They go in it. Unbeknownst to them, it's actually being squatted by someone else. Marjune, that we've seen from season 1 that helped out Lucy. Now, she has a quick chat with Norm, pretty much tells him, like she told Lucy, go back to the vault. Not safe out here, you should just be better. He even told Norm that Lucy's dead, but Norm won't believe that because he knows his sister's pretty tough. So Marjune tells him, you can borrow some stuff, but trust me, go back to the vault, and she heads out with her partner. Now, in time now, it's when the vault people have gone, nah, right, we're going to go check out upstairs. So they go back upstairs to, their old offices and whatnot, check it out, try and get radios working, and then Norm notices that Claudia, one of the other Vault 31 people, is actually in a room crying because, she doesn't really come to terms with what's happened because, to her only a week ago the world was still alive. Now, he gets a little bit of information out of her because no one's really telling him much about this Phase 2 thing. Now, a little bit of information that, he gets out of her was that Cooper Howard's wife, or the Ghoul's wife, Barbara, was actually the one in control with what research or experiments happened in what vaults, what went where. So he asked her where the computer is, she tells him, and we all know Norm's a bit of a little hacker and we love that. So he goes up and starts hacking into Barbara's computer. Now, whilst he's hacking into Barbara's computer, old Claudia comes in and notices Norm ain't like the rest of the 31 people. So she has a quick chat to him, works out that nah, he's not Bud's successor. He goes, yeah, right, you're right, how'd you know? And you're not crazy like the rest of them. It seems like those two are starting to bond a little bit. But the sad thing is one of the other Vault 30 people, Bud Axton's actual assistant, was listening outside. Now, he waits for Claudia to leave, and right before Norm is about to find out what actual research experiment was happening on his vaults, which we actually get to see a little bit, which was the F.E.V program. Now, the other Vault-31 Bud's assistant pops in, starts choking out Norm. Norm goes out. He's not dead, but thank God for that, he's not dead, but they just choked him out, so he's passed out. But we do get to see a little bit on the screen, obviously before he passes out, before he gets to that, of what was actually happening in Vault 32 and 33, and it was a forced evolutionary virus, or F.E.V. Now, in my research, pretty much majority of it is that virus was used to turn humans into super mutants, and yeah, that's pretty crazy to find out. And I don't know for sure, because there was a lot of different variants of the F.E.V virus in the Fallout universe, if that's the actual variant that they had in their vault. But still, that's crazy to find out, because like, I just don't get why none of them have already mutated, or if they were waiting for a certain thing, a key or something to make them mutate, or even if they were even doing the experiment altogether, or who even knows. But an F.E.V experiment in their vault would have been absolutely crazy. But it seems that whole Norm got busted, so I wonder what they're going to do to him, especially the Vault 31 people. They're not going to be too happy about him waking them up and ruining all their actual missions, or what was actually planned for those two vaults. So it'll be pretty interesting to see what they do to old Norm. Hopefully not too much, but I do like Norm, so I hope they don't hurt him too much. Now, to me, episode 5 wasn't action-packed, it wasn't explosive, but it was heavy. Now, it gave us a couple of answers, not a lot, but it left us with a lot of cliffhangers as well. Like, how did the Deathclaws get into New Vegas? What's going to happen to the Ghoul? Is he going to survive? What's going to happen to Lucy? Like, everything. Like, Norm's even taken hostage a little bit. Like, what's going to happen? This next episode is going to be insane. I feel episode 6 is going to blow us out of the water, and honestly, I can't wait for it, because yeah, I've said it the whole series is I absolutely love the Fallout series, and I just almost don't want it to finish. Like, I know they're going to be doing another series after this, but I don't know, this series has really got to me, because I'm a New Vegas boy and I absolutely love the game, and this one is very nostalgic to me, and yeah, I just can't get over it, really. Now, I want to hear about your thoughts at home. What did you think about episode 5? What was your favourite thoughts about it? Drop it down in the comments and I'll get back to you. And just quickly, I'd just like to say thank you to all my subs for liking and watching my videos. I love you all. Anyone that's new that's watching, don't forget to like, subscribe. Maybe jump over to my page and check out some of my videos. You might just like them. And as usual, I'll catch you on the next one.